There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Or hello in a minute, everybody. If you're catching the replay, welcome. I'm Steve. Mark's around. Say hi, Mark.
Hey everybody!
And this is Smokey, Steve, and Mark. Welcome or welcome back, and happy Saturday. It could storm any minute. We're having this period of weather now where it's pitch black or it's blue skies, and sometimes one side of the sky is one and one side of the sky is another. So just a heads up if it gets loud or if it glitches out or anything like that. We're having some weather at the moment. So severe thunderstorm watch till I think 11. So Nan, hello. Wooder, hello. Dorothy, hello. Pull up a cup of coffee. Here to judge, hello. LA, Andy. The gang's all here. Friend, yeah. I figured it was friends. Mark's lingering. He's gonna go to the store though, so he'll be here. Mr. and Mrs. McPhoebe, hello. Lush Papaya, hello. Going back and forth between black coffee and water with a touch of Mio. Well, ice water. I froze the whole damn thing. And it's not thawing fast enough, so. Great Delight, hello. Kathy. Day's been okay. Day's been okay. Hey, Roxanne. Things have been good. We had a little bit of there was a party in one of the apartments here last night, I think on the 3rd floor. New people. Half calf, Andy. And there's new people, and it's like a college guy or two, and they had like 20 friends over. The cops were here. There was an ambulance. I think someone had alcohol poisoning. So there was a lot of drama last night. So I slept in today because that drama didn't clear up till about 3. And slept in a bit, and then I got a walk in, and that's about it. I had to work, so it pushed all my whole schedule kind of off by a few hours, and next Saturday I have to work again too. So it's just the time of year. But favorite creamer, I use powdered French vanilla creamer, Coffee Mate. I like the powdered better than the liquid. I think I use less. Neighbors can be the worst, but it's nobody else in this building. It's people that like have jobs and work and, all that kind of stuff. And then there's this. So we talked with the other tenants, and it was, I don't know how long they'll last here. If that happens. They were pretty tight about rules and regulations when we moved in. We had to agree to quite a bit. Probably some stuff that they couldn't even ask us to agree to, but they had. So we'll see. But there's no like drama. Like we saw the guy in the apartment today, and it's like, are you okay? So we didn't lose internet yet. It was fishy because now the weather is, after a long hot streak, we're gonna have thunderstorms, chance of thunderstorms every day for the next week. So it'll start thundering like around 3 it did, and then it stopped, and then it never rained. And then it thundered again a little while ago, and then nothing. So, but everybody's having extreme weather. I mean, a few thunderstorms makes me feel like, oh well, compared to some of the stuff I see, in other places. So, other than warm, not bad. The rain was good. We had a thunderstorm last night, and it was good for the plants. Kept them humid, very, very humid, very humid. Very humid, Andy. It's very, very sweaty. You get out of the shower and you need to like really chill out for a little while so that you're not sweating over. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to catch up with our fair lady Chantal. Chantal Marie, Foodie Beauty, Big Beautiful Me, The Daily Chantal, Chantopolis, The Chantal Show, Chantal and Salah, where the content's being thrown out between her channel and the couple's channel. I think she's trying to, grow the audience. They're both monetized. And see what goes there. But of course, our main channel is Foodie Beauty. So we checked in last week, and there was not a whole, hey Dom, how are you? There was not a whole lot of extra in the beginning of the week. It was more recorded mukbangs, and I think we kind of thought, well, why, why all this recorded stuff? The assumption was that she was traveling. And then she turns up in Thailand. Da 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 da. I only heard Thailand mentioned once a while ago, relating to visa stuff and visa status, which is, people assume that's why she was traveling for that reason. So, Thailand, they are tourists, such tourists when they're traveling. Talked about that. and her struggling to get around. She was practically immobile in Kuwait, and then she was struggling to get around, but then she was getting around pretty well to the point where you almost think, was she like faking it before, that she wasn't as bad off, so that she could have like a traveling saved my life vlog or something. So, or maybe at Salah's insistence, maybe. But yeah. So this week, she got into a tuk-tuk, which there was a false start the week before, but she actually got into one with Salah, and they fit. She looked like she was embarrassed, and it was kind of embarrassing. So she can walk when she's motivated. Yeah, she'll be at 7-Eleven in a sprint, to go for a halal hot dog, which I'm sure, she's made a pig of herself with. So riding the tuk-tuk after another 7-Eleven run. Of course, she said she was scared about it, but she had some sloppy vlogs, arguably sloppy, some that weren't too bad, but she's always claiming that she's editing. Yes, Pete's described the smell of her stomach. I don't see Salah putting in a blow dryer up there and drying her off. I don't know if I see him changing her socks like Pete's used to do. I don't know how much of a pushover he is on or off camera. It can be kind of hard to say. So she's always editing, always editing, always busy doing it. I don't know how, but she did. She sort of doxed herself. She took a shot out the window over the city site, and people need to see very little and can figure stuff out where somebody is. So she edits on her phone, which I think was a surprise to some people. She said years ago, I thought. But the eating, she ate in public, which is different. So she had a durian she tried while she was in the marketplace, and she didn't have any particularly interesting reaction to it, except that once she got a taste for it and it tasted good to her, she was ready to go with it. She'll probably try to. You can't travel with them, so don't take them with you. And then just very recently, yesterday, she had a health scare. She had to go to an ER. She should do a review of restaurants and emergency services everywhere she goes, because it seems like everywhere she's lived or traveled, maybe not Cuba, I don't think, she's needed extra help. So I don't know. You never know. I suspect that the hot dogs were just that, hot dogs. But I'm not there. So much can happen off camera. So the tuk-tuk riding brought me back a little bit. If anyone's ever seen America's Next Top Model, Cycle 3, it was the one with Jade in it. Everyone remembered Jade. Danielle was the one that won. Their visit away was into Thailand. Like, they always take them to some other location, a fashion capital, to have them do stuff, and they had gone to Thailand. And Jade, the kind of high maintenance, annoying one of the group, was like, I didn't want to ride in a tuk-tuk, toot-toot, hoopty, whatever they were. So I don't know if she had an attitude about that. Y'all remember Jade, right? Jade was something. They just kept her on because the two people in the beginning were boring. The two people who were at the last end, they were beautiful women. All of them were in their own sort of twist. But yeah, they were traveling around Thailand. And it seems like they obviously had less trouble than Chantal, but they were far slimmer and more active people. So Chantal said she was scared to get in a tuk-tuk, which is, I think I would be too. To me, it would feel like getting on like a motorcycle. Like when in Rome, so if I happen to find myself in Bangkok, maybe I would, get on a tuk-tuk. But otherwise, probably I wouldn't. I'd be scared too. But it was such a show for, one sits on each side, and she took up about this much, if you're watching, and then he took up about this much of it. Now, it's not news that she's big, but when she tries to fit her larger self into places made for more average-sized people, then she has a hard time fitting in. It looks like a spectacle. Her legs are all spread out wide, while she's, I don't know. She sits in that position with her legs out. It reminds me of, I'm sure some of you have seen 600 Pound Life. For some of the folks that are primarily bedbound, there was a few that specific position that she sits in to eat on the floor, because she got her legs out and the box is up here. Her legs don't bend. I don't think they can. She probably doesn't feel steady enough. She might lock her knees. I mean, she was dragging her foot through the desert too. But At this point, she ambulates. I'm going to use the medical word for someone who's limitedly mobile, in limited ways. Like the other big folks would sit with their legs spread out because the stomach was so engorged with fat that it falls onto the ground, onto the bed, wherever it goes. And if she's ever going to be bedbound, that's the position she'll probably settle herself into. Otherwise, if she puts her legs together, she probably can't. No judging. It's just how much space she takes up. It's like up to here. On the plane, it was. On the other, I had said last week, she's gonna probably want to revisit these places when she can walk. If and when that day comes, traveling would be probably so much more comfortable. I mean, I could imagine myself traveling would be more comfortable 50 pounds off. So I can't imagine having 250 pounds extra on you and doing all that walking because, I mean, Salah might have said, look, I'm going. You're either walking with me or I'm going alone. And Chantal, who would probably not let a man out of her sight, especially in Thailand, where there are also beautiful women, and it seemed like on average Chantal was the biggest person we've seen in Thailand so far, and she's been in public places. She was in the market, and you can see her compared to the size of other women too, which is, different. The legs, my best friend's mom would have killed me. Her apron is falling like lower, it looks like. So it does either hit her knees or make it hard to walk. And when she was shuffling in the shadow, it's always hard with Chantal. Is she throwing in clues to make people think that she's going to have another one of her dramatic medical crises, which she knows they're overly dramatic and usually a waste of time. But no one was watching her sit alone in a cafeteria and snarf down a pad thai. So what do we need instead? We need drama. So there's this trip to the hospital. She was fat shamed on the streets of Bangkok. And we'll mention that in a minute. The jean shirt, it shrank. Sure. Yeah, the shirt shrank. The planes on the seat shrank. Everything else shrank. The only thing she'd be right about is like Dunkin' Donuts and Chips Ahoy cookies. They shrank. They got smaller. That's not a lie. But so her vlogs that she's doing, and she's trying to film them like couples vlog type vibe. So when she's putting the content on the couple's channel or on hers, she's trying to make it look like the two of them are married in love and showing you around. And they did one or two this week that weren't awful, but a lot of them were crap. It's a lot of extra footage. It's the kind of stuff Mark cuts out. We don't vlog much, but I'm still sketchy about filming in public sometimes for my own sake, my own nerves and whatnot. Not because we've never been confronted, no one ever said anything, but we don't film in public a whole lot. So I'm not going to say I'm a vlogger and she's doing it wrong. But for the vlogs I like to watch, hers aren't very much in the style of that. And there's people who travel, they show the transportation, what to pack when you're leaving. Like there's a whole event around it. There's a whole thing that builds excitement towards it. But Chantal, for fear of her privacy, I guess, being ruined, you see absolutely nothing except her saying she's there. So none of the journey is documented. It's just at the end of it. And why would she leave it out? Because it's not flattering to her. It's not. So Sandra, it's just filler. The edits are boring. Now, I will say, well, I'll wait till we get to that. No, we can talk about that now. Her editing that she's always doing, and that she edits on her phone. I remember her saying a few years ago, hey, Kathy Ann, hey, people, I missed you coming in. Hello, hello. That a few years ago, she had said she edits on her phone, that she's never bought a computer. She's done everything she gets like whatever the new Samsung is. She's a Samsung person. Switched to Apple, but the filters weren't flattering. So we went back to Samsung. And she would get the most new expensive one and just rely on the camera and stuff from that. So Mark and I have a decidedly smaller channel and it's not our entire income. So the improvements we do to the channel are slow. Like for a couple of years, we didn't have good lighting. So it's been slow and steady because it's like not our full-time gig, but she lives and breathes YouTube. It pays for her life, and you think if she's not going to make a spectacle of herself, which it's hard for her not to do there, she's going to have some drama to get people to watch. There's a ceiling she's hit. There's only in the tens of thousands of people who are interested in her going around. So maintaining her channel versus growing her channel and what she considers an investment, because she'll buy $500 worth of food, but if she makes $550 off of it, it was worth it. So I don't know. Thank you, Tiffany. Camp Crystal Lake, it says, what does it say? Counselor on the bottom. So her using her phone. Now, in the meantime, there have been pieces of technology that have slipped through her fingers. Let's see, there was the laptop that she got for Natter. It was like a $3,000 laptop so that he could take video of himself cooking raw chicken. And then she used them as currency when she was in Cuba. But for her own filming, no. No. She just, yeah, the Cuba laptop, that was in exchange for goods and services or whatever. I'm sure it wasn't on like Facebook Market, like, hey, I'll give you a laptop if you give me a lei, please. Also, to that, we do a lot of our editing unless it needs to be something. I do like half on the computer and then half on the phone. Marc does a lot of editing. He uses PixArt, a couple other things to put it together. And for the most part, yeah, he works either on our phone or, well, we have one phone we dedicate to film, and we either use that or sometimes have tried to use cameras. We didn't try it as much recently. I know it's an upgrade to your channel when you have better audio, better lights, and all that kind of stuff, and that makes sense to me too. But I can also say that even if you are editing on your phone, Marc edits on the phone. You've seen the cuts, the transitions, the things that pop in and out, and that's not everybody's style, of course, but there's a lot more you can do than just what she's doing. And I have a damn Android myself, so I know what she's capable of. The edits are choppy. Oh, Tangent, welcome, hello. The edits are sloppy, they cut together, there's not really any fades, you forget where they are, or they tell you every 3 seconds where they are, and it's a lot of footage of them just dun 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 dun, and they're just walking around, hobbling around. And periodically they do stop to eat, but it goes to her snobbiness, kind of. It's having to only use her phone. Well, she could do better, but having to use only her phone to edit is another way that Chantal kind of says, see, I don't have to try as hard as everyone else, but I'm still better than everybody else. The smug sense of, the kind of smirk she'd have as she rode past everyone on a cart through the airport. That kind of, who cares if I'm fucking myself over? I have it easier than you. And I think Chantal really believes all of us think like her. And that left with the choices she has to make, any one of us would eat ourselves to death and throw our life away for teenage psychodrama just to make a living. There's plenty of people on YouTube who do other kinds of content and do quite a bit better. So the explanation of hers is that this is what I need to do to pay the bills. It's like, you don't try much else. She got lazy, got used to easy money, and she got used to it during the lives with all those super chats flowing in for the poor victim of abuse. So, I don't know. Yeah, they do say hello. Hello, babe. Hey, sweetheart. How are you doing? He's so... He reminds me of the voice that comes out when Stephen Hawking talks. It's kind of monotone, kind of robotic a little bit. It's got that vein to it. When you don't hear like a Disney howl coming out somewhere. So yeah, it just goes to the whole thing again. Her editing on her phone as, I don't have to do what everyone else does, but I'm still successful. Die mad about it. I can eat myself half to death and still get a hot man. Die mad about it. I can travel to Kuwait and not throw a clot. Die mad about it. Like, that kind of thing. And again, phone's probably on our shopping list, but Marc and I both work in human services, and it pays about a roll of nickels every 2 weeks. So there's things that are on the list, and then there's, things that are a far down the road purchase. For where we're at with our channel now, I think it's okay, but there is always a step up to take, and for how large her channel is, and for the kind of content she wants to make. If you're going to go somewhere that most people who are your viewers haven't gone, and you're going to show it off, specifically, you're going to make your content like the background and all that stuff. A good camera makes very good sense to do, or a good way to record it, because you're selling this destination and you in it as something people want to watch. So they want to see probably some driving footage, maybe a look down the beach, but not like a 15-minute video that's 12 minutes of that kind of crap, and then 3 minutes of him calling her babe, and then her trying to jam herself into some sort of situation she doesn't fit into, Oh yeah, stay mad, babies. Stay mad, babies. Some people are mad. Chantal is usually wrong about stuff, but there's people that go after her just for the sake that they just seriously don't like fat people. But she takes that part and draws it to the whole. There's people who have very poor, kind of assessments of her, and they tell her in very graphic ways. We'll put that nicely. And she hears that and hears everything. And she also only hears fat, fat, fat. They don't like me because I'm fat. They made fun of me because I'm fat. What's wrong with me being fat? No one said fat. They said you were an asshole. There's plenty of thin ones, too. Where's your boil? Yeah. Where's your draining? Where's your packed abscess? We'll talk about that in a moment. Are you pooping right now? I just saw you come through. Hey, other folks. Jamie, Cindy. Don't hear us. Yeah. Stay mad when she's trying to walk down the street. Yeah. Yeah, we're really, really jealous. If only I could have eaten myself into a state of disability. I would have had to gain another 150 pounds to do that. Like, she's 100 pounds heavier than my highest weight, and I'm 11 inches taller than her. So, I don't know. But, So, she loves 7-Eleven. While she's there, she's getting a lot of her first, I think, coffee or tea was from the 7-Eleven. When they don't feel like going to the market because it's hot, they go to the 7-Eleven. I can't fathom. It's like when she when she went to Cuba. It's like the whole world is out there. Like, why bother travel at all if you're just going to sit in a room somewhere else? Now, she did more walking and has done more walking in Thailand than I very much thought. She did take a walk up the temple steps. They were going to see a monument, a Buddha thing. And the steps weren't terribly steep, but there was a lot of them. And I don't know how many times she had to stop, but she was able to do it. So either she needed to be properly motivated, properly scared and threatened, maybe by her husband, or she just fakes not being able to do much. So people don't expect as much out of her. She doesn't care if they judge her for it as long as she gets out of having to do it. So, I don't know. But when they go out also and they're eating in what looks like a cafeteria. It might have been at the Asiatic when they went to that resort. And she's having pad thai, because of course you want to have pad thai. And she called it grade A street food. And she's eating indoors. And it's very much like when she's at home. She has the plate up to here. And she's eating off it like this. Because I think it doesn't make a good argument for her that she can do anything at her weight if she can't eat off a table because she can't reach around herself to get to the bottom of it. She was also doing, while eating this pad thai, the old school stop, drive somewhere, pull over in a parking lot, and since I'm so proud of my behavior, I'll look like a sketched out crackhead looking both directions and shoving it in as fast as I can. That's not a food lover. You're not loving food when you're doing that. You're loving binging, or it's not for, high quality cuisine. It's not like the raw shrimp, for example. So, I think when she talks about being out and proud, and she also tried to make mention that she didn't feel, and we'll get to that in a bit, she didn't really feel that she was being shamed when she was there by a woman and a child in the marketplace. She felt like she was being shamed, but she feels like she's being shamed online too. I mean, all that would have pointed to was that it's not just meanies on YouTube. It's not even mean. Like, people notice. It's a spectacle. It stands out. So, while they were at the market, though, I have to say, they went to the market. She had a raw shrimp, and she was, not. There was squid. There was other stuff she was looking at. She couldn't eat the bugs in the market because they're not halal. I don't know about all those hot dogs from 7-Eleven, though. I'm not sure. She said they weren't entirely sure what some of the food they got was because there's not a lot of stuff in English, so she wasn't able to tell. You can see people when they film during, like, they were at the market during the day. Who knows if it's open at night, probably, but they were there, well, anymore. But as they went to the market, they walked around and it was daytime and it was cute and whatever, and they were showing us around and it was nice. But people were staring at her because she's a spectacle. She is a very conspicuous person who's going to stand out. She's 3 times the size of most people, and she can't get why people stare. Whether the staring is right or wrong, I won't say, but you can't be surprised when people do it. And it's cross-cultural apparently too. So in a cross-cultural international context, Chantal is still fat. You know. You see, LA, may Jen rest in peace, but you don't get to that size without a mean streak to keep the enabler in line. People make a lot of, I didn't see the Life by Jen documentary. I probably would. Maybe if I have some time where I'm not doing something else, I'll put it on, or at least listen to it if I go for a walk. But Chantal's story is steering closer to Jen's, even though Jen was probably closer to Amber's size. But somebody had pointed out, and they were right, Amber's a bit younger than Chantal, so her body is holding out a little bit better. Chantal is starting to look like someone who's older that's been fat for a while. Her stomach is starting to fall. You can see where the wind blows. The abaya is not the most flattering thing. You think something that covers your body would cover your body. But they stop being modest because when she gets larger, they're tighter. And they can't have tight clothes on, so she buys a bigger one. But then she gains weight, and then when that gets tight, she buys a bigger one. I don't know. I don't know. She's dressed up like a pregnant Muslim woman and surprise people stare. Okay, so why be surprised that anybody's gonna stare? Of course they're going to. Again, right, wrong, I won't say, but it's going to happen. She has to understand that she stands out. And Mark has a totally different perspective than I do. I think like a lot of people, she goes out at night, so there's nobody around. There's never anyone in the background when they go most places. The hat. Jesus wept. They don't really do anything at night. And she has said, luckily I'm a very confident person, so, you know, I don't sweat it. People trash me online all day, so I can take it. But I don't know. So now to fat shaming in the marketplace. This was one of the longer bits that I had some thoughts about. So she's going through a market, and there's a woman with a small child. The woman's holding the child, and she's selling like flowers, like a necklace type thing, maybe kind of like a lei, I guess, whatever it would be there. And she sells one to Chantal, and they're talking, and they're going back and forth. And the woman asked Chantal if she was pregnant. Chantal said no. Now, it seemed like one of those like awkward, funny kind of things. And culturally, there's maybe different perceptions about, you know, what does it say about a person if they're that size and they're not pregnant. Now, Chantal carries a lot of her weight in the front, which a lot of heavyset people don't, who are female, you know, like legs and the curvy spots. But then at a certain point, the body just gets flooded with fat. And you start gaining like a boulder. And you get the belly comes out, and then her legs have to be so far down because her stomach has to make room to hit the floor. Not good, not good. But the food there is so good. Yeah, have you been to the 7-Eleven? She should tell the locals that she found a great place. They should check it out. So the woman made a comment, and then Chantal, you know, paid for whatever her thing was. Then it turns into, because Chantal needs drama because it wasn't interesting otherwise, that she was fat shamed on the streets of Bangkok. Chantal looks pregnant. Most women don't carry that much weight in their stomach. Even larger women a lot of times don't carry a lot of weight in their stomach, but she does. And she carries it in the place that usually babies would be. So, is it rude to ask? She was holding a baby. Maybe she thought, oh, you're with child. I don't think it was meant to be like, what are you, pregnant? It was Chantal who disclosed, no, I'm just fat. I had an incident similar to this. Okay, so I'm 7 years old. This will be quick. We'll go back to Chantal. I'm like 7 years old. My dad's boss and a couple people he worked with come over to dinner. It's the 80s, so people were having dinner parties, and my mother threw one too. And there was a woman my dad worked with who was a larger woman. And me, in all my childlike innocence and stupidity, said, so when's the baby due? Because I had never seen anyone that fat. I hadn't gotten fat yet. I was still a skinny kid. But, you know, it just kind of flew out of my mouth. You know, well, no, she thinks she's LA. She thinks she's chubby. She thinks she's overweight. She's not even regularly obese. She's like aggravated obesity, like super morbid obesity. The idea that she's just a little chubby, maybe it helps her sleep, but I mean, she's not. She's a BBW. She's not chubby. She's a BBFW. So suddenly she was fat shamed because she needed something to talk about. and she's a woman with a large stomach, and she's wearing maternity wear. So is this woman out of line? Well, we'll call it a cultural difference. She was being more forward. But she wasn't necessarily shaming Chantal. She just said, she asked her if you're pregnant, and you like food a lot. None of those things are incorrect. None of them are. Like if I wore maternity clothes and had a big gut and was a woman, people would probably guess or say something or think something. But again, this person she's talking to was also. And Chantal, of course, has to take the snotty high road. I'm sure she walked away mumbling under her breath, trash, I buy and sell people like this. And then she got mad about it. And for someone who lets things roll off their back, she was pissed enough to bring it up again. She's a big person and she's a spectacle. People are going to look. And you can see people looking. If she ever had any doubts that online was different than in person, no, the real life face-to-face world takes exception to her presence too. And will apparently ask questions if concerned. But she, of course, Marlene, hello, she, of course, had bought these flowers to support this poor woman and her child. This is the same tone that she has when she tells a story about a girl from when she was in, I don't know, Katimavik, high school, wherever she was, and how some girl stole the guy she liked. And invariably in these stories, the girl in the story who took her man ends up homeless, pregnant, Chantal driving down into El Barrio and giving her a 20 because she felt bad. Anyone who crosses Chantal has to make a point of how much better her life is and how much more of a respectable person she is and how much anything related to women, period, bothers her. The fact that a woman called her out, and then this woman, according to Chantal, was trying to talk to Salah in some sort of way, and that there's a matchup there. Chantal versus the woman there, the woman and her child, who actually she had totally jam herself into a situation it doesn't fit into. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you, Here to Judge. Thank you for the super chat. She in a world she doesn't fit into, So she was so hurt she tossed the flower necklaces and this lady disappeared. She was just she wasn't getting enough attention for something. So she's gonna say she's a Westerner, and Canada here, and we're fatter here, bigger people. So going to another part of the world where most people are smaller, and as such, most things to accommodate those people are smaller, it can't be a surprise. What are you going to say? Other countries aren't as evolved? They don't make spaces for people like her? I don't know. What are they supposed to do? How much more accommodating could they be? I don't know if they have handicap restrooms and things like that. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. But Chantal thinks the woman needs money. She was just kind of pointing out, is pointing out her size tantamount to pointing out that she's short? Is that offensive, or is it just an observation? I think Chantal probably felt like it was none of this woman's business to ask her a question like that. But if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, you might want to ask if it's a duck, just to try to make it make sense. If she hadn't seen anyone that size before, except someone who was pregnant, then she would probably ask if you were pregnant. That's a big life-changing event, but I hate it how Salah's smoking around the baby. Well, he's garbage. Salah is a different kind of immature than Chantal is. Salah is more of the, when they go to museums and he puts his hands on everything, he's like I'm going to do it and you can't stop me. So he has a little bit of Arrested Development. But at the same time, she does also, but in a more immature, hey guys, she needs to find a new audience that agrees that she's a victim of things every few months, and she'll build up 1,200 and then run her mouth and lose them all, and then she'll build up another 1,500 and then run her mouth and lose them all, and start over and over. This kind of content apparently has a subscriber ceiling for her of about 90,000 some. She's not drawing in new people. She just keeps up, down, up, down, up, down, to say nothing about the I don't know. You don't just touch someone's baby. No, you don't. They just touch you. Stop. Not everything is yours to touch. I don't give a fuck. And it's not in a cultural context. You're not entitled to have your hands on everything you want to touch. You want to touch something, touch your wife. Touch your wife. So the last thing that just was most recent when I sat down here is that we had something of a health scare. Super duper BBW. Yes. Health scare. So we get a video that says she had to go to the ER. Okay. So she climbed all those temple stairs and she's been doing a lot of walking, and a lot of people have suggested that she's in much better shape than they thought considering how much she's doing. So is it more a matter of motivation than physical ability? Well, for right now she might have a choice. If it goes on for too much longer, she won't. She doesn't have the ability to sit or stand because she won't be able to stand. Um, my thinking was that she went to the ER because she wanted a few days off from that. Well, that's the thing too, Miss McPhoebe. Like, did she go? Did she not go? Did she fake it? Did she not fake it? She fakes things for attention. The first story I heard about her as a kid was faking a suicide attempt for attention, or faking an overdose for attention, and to try to get back at her mom. That's a juvenile way of looking at it. I'll show you, I'll hurt me, and then you'll feel terrible for what I did to myself, and you'll feel awful, and you're a mother too. How could you put your man before your child? I'm sure she was obnoxious and hurtful and went for the low blow like she always does now. I'm sure it started early. So she learned that, I think specifically having medical issues wins, she believes, a certain kind of sympathy that other things wouldn't. Because, like, oh, everyone can understand having a boil or a blister. Yeah, you could. And, okay. So she ends up in the ER. She has a spot or a bump on the inside of her thigh where any number of things could have been contributing to it, but she ends up going to an ER where it's apparently, according to her, assessed, lanced, and they send her home. Now, I had when I was 24, and this was in the middle of my drinking. And I think what contributed to it then was that I was in the middle of my drinking, and frankly, my hygiene wasn't 100%. It wasn't as high a priority as getting a bottle of Nikolai. So if bathing and grooming would cut into my drinking time, I would not do it. And I did end up having to go to the hospital with a small cyst at the back of my tailbone, right at the top of the bone. And I was in the ER for about 2 hours. They drained it. They packed it with gauze and told me I needed to follow up with an outpatient doctor. Yeah, they didn't put her on antibiotics, but yeah. So, um, so I was taken and it was drained in the ER, and it hurt and it did smell, which a lot of those mostly do. But after that, they packed it with gauze, and then I had to unpack it myself because there was just a big pussy dent wherever it was. So I'm trying to think, okay, so it is painful. If that's what she had, it's painful as fuck, and I can understand going to the ER. I mean, it hurts. And putting in the numbing agent to drain it hurts. And if she says she has to go back to the clinic, I think it probably means that she had the wound packed, and it has to be checked over and over. Does anyone recall when she had one of these on her back? Right where a bra strap would probably rub. And if I recall at that point, I know she needed some home health after her surgery, her hysterectomy. But also after this, I believe that there was people coming to the house. I mean, it was COVID, I believe, so maybe they were doing a lot more outpatient, but the nurse had to come and pack it. So this isn't the first time she's had a boo-boo like this. A number of things can complicate healing. Chafing, sweating, areas that get wet, dry, not much air gets through, diabetes. There's, several other things that can happen with that. She had a problem healing after the hysterectomy a little bit, but that was mostly, people attributed it to her gaining weight after the operation. Anything on a 400-pound body is hard. Let's pretend Chantal was a nice person. Let's pretend that we were really concerned for her and that she was really trying. If I found out any of that stuff, I'd be like super concerned. But yeah, after the hysterectomy, I know she had people who would come in. I don't know. But she could obviously compare hospitals from Canada to Thailand to Kuwait. I think after a few days of walking, she had just decided, we're done. I need a reason not to be able to walk for a while. Now, last time she was dizzy, and she got out of it in Kuwait. So Thailand needs her to buy a few days. So now she's not going to be as mobile, which means she's going to be in their hotel room or wherever, eating on the floor. Because no one gave a shit that they went to the market. No one really cared that she ate. Not too many more people watched. The investment into Thailand might not pay for itself on the way back. So, put me on antibiotics to avoid infection. I was just, in July, I was in the hospital, and I had an infection, and they treated me with IV antibiotics, and I was there for, a few days. And then the area did eventually drain. But by the time it had, there was no odor to it or anything like that. It was just, completing the process. And I was at the few days left of antibiotics by the time that happened. But if she had something like that, they would have packed it, told her how to clean it. And if she can't, maybe that's why they told her to come back, because she needs assistance to clean it and she can't do it herself. And Salah's not going to be Pete's with the blow dryer, picking up that East Motel and giving it a whiff. If she's bigger now than she was before, and we remember she said Pete's had to help her put her socks on, who do we think's doing it now? Someone's cutting her toenails. I don't think she'd go for a pedicure manicure. She'd be afraid she couldn't fit in the chair, and she can't probably reach the floor with her legs because she's so short. But if he had to help her with that, who's doing it now? So she's either not changing them, or I don't know. But it's, again, to her, I think she's living her life there with her now husband, whatever, we'll go with that, because it's been a while. Whatever he is to her, it's been coming up on it's yearish that it's been going on. So this is going to continue to go on for a while, I think. Yes, Yumoya, I don't think Salah would do for her what Pete's did. I don't think Salah's as much of a, there's words for guys like Pete's, to do it for her, because she had something over his head. She was paying for stuff. Now, if she's buying Salah the same way that she was trying to keep Pete's under thumb by controlling his finances, then maybe Salah does go along with it. Look, kid, this is how I make our money. So get on board or get out. Like, I always, in my head, it might not be true, but in my head, I always have this feeling that Salah will mention something to her about, do you really need to do that? Like, do we have to do 3 mukbangs a day? And she'll explain it to him like he's the idiot who doesn't understand how money is made. Oh, Salah, if you understood. If you, And still, some of the pictures of them out and about looked like mother and son. Because she has a matronly build. She looks like she might be pregnant. So the visa renewal, yes, there was discussion about her traveling for her visa renewal, and that not going to Canada but going to another country. There were certain other places she could travel. I'm sure for Salah and his status that this is not the first time she and the company she keeps has maybe hustled different places to try to, she had said she had said loopholes. Her own words was that she had to go through some loopholes to get there. So she thinks, why do people want to know my visa status? Because it looks sketchy. You moved 3 times. You got a bunch of different cars back and forth. And now you're out of the country for a short period of time. And not to be controversial, but there was a panel that was done that had Kaya Simon was on it, and Music is Marty was on it too. And they were talking, Girl World, I believe, had come up, and he had essentially said, you better not go back to Kuwait. So if he sent some strongly worded documents to facilities there or to the government or whoever, that was kind of the kiss off, I think, from Girl World, is like, this shit's boring, but here, So we'll see. We'll see, I guess. But yeah, she bought herself some laziness. That's what I think she probably did with this injury that she had. These things, these interesting, dramatic things, there's like no footage of. There's none of this woman coming on to Salah or whatever that was. And the fact that Chantal felt threatened says what you think about how she thinks of herself. But that part never made it to camera. And then the part where she was in the hospital. If she was in the hospital, she takes selfies with an oxygen mask on, smiling underneath it for the photos. Like she's checking out a new destination. Hey guys, here's what the hospital's like in Thailand. She also said it was expensive to go there. I have zero idea about how healthcare works in Thailand. I don't know. She said she didn't tell Salah about the boil because she didn't want to hold up the fun or do anything of that. I swear, if she's walking that much in that heat, someone gave an ultimatum. Someone must have, because she would never, ever be out doing that much. Even though she wants to travel bees, she's not going to be doing that much. She physically won't be able to at a certain point. So Very lucky a firework hit me in the face but missed my eye and my teeth left a gash. That sounds terrible. I was just catching in on your exchange with LA, and I caught that. I was like, well, that sounds awful. Um, yeah. All of the things that could be a risk factor for her getting a boil down to her being fat. Yes, then people get boils that need to be lanced and things like that. But the super duper friction, the lack of oxygen into areas, the fact that she's choosing to wear this modest clothing. She said she feels more comfortable in it. I don't doubt that because it hides everything except what she thinks is her best asset, which she believes is her face is her best asset. So she'll show that. Maybe she thinks her chin is her best asset. She leads with it. So he hasn't seen her naked thigh. You're absolutely right. I don't think he would have noticed, and she wouldn't have brought it up. He wouldn't have seen it. You know, how long would she have had it? She does lead with the chin. It's like the scream mask. It's weird. But I don't think Salah, like I said, is going to do the same things that Pete's does. Salah seems not too... He seems like he thinks he's too good for it. Like, boils can be infected even after they're drained for a while if they're not cared for correctly. You know, you have to leave that stuff in there and then yank it out. And if they have to pack the space again, the whole goal is to, you know, especially with no antibiotics, if it's what she says it is, she'll get sick again. If she's making up a story so she doesn't have to walk that much, then that's that. She probably had a tiny little bump. Tiny little bump. Went in to the hospital with Salah not with her, and then came out with a story about, you know, they said that she was so brave to be so ill and still make it around touristing. So, hey Jay, yeah, we're live today. And I guess while there's some more people here, I have to work next Saturday. So I'm not going to have the time during the day, and it's going to be a busy week. So probably going to have another live for next Saturday. I know it's not everyone's favorite. Some people like the live, some people like the videos, some people like them both. Some people think some lives suck. Well, you know, it's people. So I know, sassy, but I'm just saying, tiny bump that she over-exaggerated when she was with the doctor just to get into the hospital so she can get a note that says, take it easy. Every note she gets from the doctor always includes, take it easy. So, I'm curious if there are rules around healthcare. I don't know, Jay. I don't know. Like, I know some other faiths, they don't do blood transfusions or certain types of vaccines and things like that. There's certain faith traditions that don't really go with that stuff. I don't know. Her pampered Canadian ass is going to probably need more help than Thailand is going to provide. But if she can't travel, that's fine, because then Salah can go out and spend some time during the day by himself. No way that's happening. If she's going to be sick enough to be home, she's going to have to make sure she's sick enough to keep him home, too. The idea of him going out all day and just mingling, I suspect she'll be blowing up his phone with texts. What are you doing? What this? What that? What that? So, expensive for her? Well, since it's very low cost or sliding scale as what she's used to, she's used to not having to pay for it. So having to pay for it bothered her. Expensive? Assuming the story is not entirely made up, then yeah, it was probably a little bit expensive. It wasn't money she was probably planning to spend. So, I don't know. No way she's letting him leave. No, not out of eyesight, I would think. She's so secure in her marriage, but she would never. And anytime there's a woman involved, you know, like the thing, she make that up too, about the woman having an after thing with Nader and all that, so. My kid lived in Thailand for over a year. He said medical care was cheap. Thank you for the real life input, Bug. So, hotel rooms are $20. Everything goes from being too expensive to too cheap. Everything here is so cheap. You hear the thunder? Okay? Just so we're all on the same page. We got about 10 minutes left. If I get kicked off, I'll come back for those last 10. So just hang tight. Had Salah been to Thailand before? I just saw the part of that go by. I think it was Sansa Cook's channel said in the Shisha video is filmed in a red light district. Well, they were going to go through the sexy areas. But, you know, there's nothing about how he's dressed that says he's modest or Muslim or married. So she can just stay home and he can go have fun in one of the sex destinations known globally, and explore his interests and stuff. I mean, he's just a man. I think she's probably, who knows about what her interest in physical stuff might be. Maybe it changed after the hysterectomy. Maybe it's just not as much of a priority. She might, like, saying I want to cover myself up for modesty's sake. I promise you're not turning us on if you take it off. Promise you. Promise you. You got thunder too, Charlie? Be careful. Careful, careful. If you can hear the thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning. At least the Weather Channel said that. So, he seems to know his way around there. Don't tell me Chantal can navigate those markets without him. No. I don't know. If he has been around there before, and now she's decided to take sick for the rest of the visit, then I suspect he is going to want to probably go out and leave her home. And either she'll be insanely jealous and text him constantly, or she's cool as a cucumber because she's not invested because his monogamy is not part of whatever agreement they have. Part of their prenup. It wasn't that he could do whatever he wants. And what she won't do, another woman will. Queens of Comedy, Monique. What you won't do, another bitch will. So stay home. He'll find someone to walk around the market with. He'll be by himself for a while, and then someone will flirt with him, and he won't be able to help himself, and then they'll be talking, and then it'll be like, oh, I gotta get home to the old ball and chain. She's... I don't know. She said he's been there before when he was talking to the flower seller. Thank you, Woodard. So he has some experience. So that's how they're getting around without MapQuest and all the other stuff that they're trying to find. I've read and Ladyboy is not offensive. Ladyboy describing, I don't know if it's offensive, I just know it's common. But I've never called anyone a ladyboy to find out, so couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. Heard of it before. I've known people distantly who've gone on sex tourism, things like that. And for them, the experience was trying a lot of different things. Thailand, Syrian passport. That's when it came up before Andy. That's when it came up much earlier. That his ability to travel was not as easy as there was only certain places they could both go. I didn't understand ladyboy to be as offensive. It's not, calling someone a gentleman and a scholar, but it describes a certain kind of lifestyle that some people live. And it's, for some men, not considered to be a gay act to sleep with a ladyboy. Guys will tell themselves anything to not do gay stuff, but do gay stuff. Oh, it wasn't this because I was doing that. Oh, it would... Okay, honey. You go to Thailand for the women. We have women here. So, but I'm just saying, I'm just talking out of my ass. So we're getting close to the end. So, heterosexuality, homosex is different than in the West. Yeah, there's, we have, I don't know, just a couple kinds of genders in the US, but in other places, in other cultures, and I'm not saying other countries, other cultures, the idea of being two-spirit, or people having gender on a spectrum, that there's 3 or 4 genders and not just 1 or 2. Don't they say in Iran trans to get out of being gay? I don't know about that. I had a friend who traveled abroad and went to some gay places and some what I thought would be possibly unsafe places, and he said it's just underground, punishable. But those kind of scenes are there's gay people everywhere. It doesn't mean that there's no gay people in Kuwait. They're just not out and out about it because it would not be good. A lot of trans is totally normal. Yeah, it's all this, it's like trans folks are new. They're not. And it goes across race too. I remember I was studying Thunder. I was studying Brazil and gender and stuff like that, and it was talking about the travesti, as far as trans folks, but also as far as race. There's so many different shades that people identify as. You get black, white, Asian, this and that, all here. But we were able to get Life by Jen's deadbeat boyfriend finally evicted from housing. Oh my God. I didn't realize there was an effort to do that. I didn't even know he was still there. I thought he would have moved on to the next girl. He can't survive without a sucker. So I figured he would have found somebody else. Now that Jen is out of the picture. I'm sure he used it as an excuse to drink. So, scary thunder. It's fine, Caroline. It's not scary. If there was much more lightning, I'd be scared, but I'm not seeing flashes come through. So thank you all for joining this week. We're not done. I'm just wrapping it down. We're going to check in next week. Again, it's going to be another live. So again, I know it's not everybody's favorite content, but to get it current and have it done and have something to put up on Saturday, it's going to be later. So He was squatting and stopped paying rent. God. Is his channel still active? Life by Gene X? I wonder. Who is we? Do you live in her building? I'm always curious how those kind of things happen. How was Gene? He was, according to Jen, he was put on the lease. That he stayed, you can stay as a guest for like 2 weeks, and beyond that, you need to be on the lease. And her version of things was that he was put on the lease. But I suspect she was paying. She had Social Security disability. And so the housing rate was probably based on her income. And with him being perpetually unemployed, he had nothing to contribute. So once her income was gone, he would have had to go out and get a job to pay it. And I don't know if they could do that. So he was a user, in my opinion. He was taking advantage of a vulnerable person. Attitude or not, vulnerable person. Now I'm sure she was no angel. The stories that went through the rumor mill were that she was vicious to her mother, who was also sickly but was having to take care of her, bring her food, help her out, and do all that kind of stuff. But it was described differently. And then when Gene came, she described it initially as a lot of fun. I think they were probably having fun eating and fun with food, and he loves me for who I am, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, he loves you for who you are, but who you are, she passed away. Gene was, or not Gene, God. She was a bit of a buddy for a while. We would check back and forth and things like that. But as soon as Gene showed up, she kind of drifted away from certain kinds of content and certain kinds of people. And it was interesting because I would watch them and I would think of Mark and I on the basic level, both of them dealing with addiction, each one of them using the other as an excuse to use, to drink, eat, whatever. And as long as they could blame each other, they would just keep doing it. And Gene, I think, was probably a doll baby when he's sober, but grimy as shit when he's got a few drinks in him. The kind of guy who'd steal money and your cigarettes off the bar and then try to run out the door and hopefully the bouncer gets him. Because he's as much a drinker as she is. I've known 1,000 Genes. Wait till he actually gets sober. He's going to be the most pompous ass in the world. Look what I did. Look what I was able to do when he entered the picture. That was the vibe I got. I guess in real life too, huh, Flank? That was it. But I used to do the whole I'll get a man and ditch all my friends thing. So the man's going to burn out being your friend, your father, your lover, your brother, your priest, and doing all those roles because you have no other friends. It burns people out in relationships, I think, to do that. It's like too much to ask. Now she found a good thing with Gene because every time he drank, she could eat. Every time she ate, he could drink because they were somehow, it was even that way. They were no worse than each other. I could point something out about you, you could point it out about me. But where does there be room for love in a situation like that? There's too much power dynamics to do all that. And two addicted people in a relationship can go a few different ways. Mark and I, when we started dating, were not in active addiction. We met in rehab, definitely. But we didn't start dating until about 4 years later. And we had been at that point friends, roommates, pen pals, but not lovers. And we both had a couple years under our belt, sober at the time. So we had learned how to live healthfully as best we could and on our own. But she's never lived any other way than someone tending to her. And I think, I don't know, Jen just seemed real resigned when she died, and totally in denial of how things were going. And then I see Chantal and I think, Chantal was not immune to the laws of biology, biochemistry, physics, all that kind of stuff. Even though she's immune, she's kind of Teflon in a lot of different ways. You're not going to screw over Mother Nature. It's not going to happen. So I know she can get away with a lot of things, but I don't think she'll get away with this. Something out of everyone's control is going to happen to her, and she's not going to be able to cope with it. And then she'll be, afraid to get attention. So people with fetishes for death vats. maybe. Well, folks, we are at the hour here. So this was a good chat. I had a good time tonight. I hope you guys were able to chill out too. I know it was on a bit short notice that we were going to be live, but thank you for joining. I had a good time tonight. I'm going to go turn the air conditioner on in the other room and probably chill out. Mark should be back in not too long. So thank you all for joining and being here. Please do hit the thumbs up on your way out. And thanks for watching. Please do subscribe, hit the notification bell. We have alerts when we have new videos and when we go live. We're on Twitter, X, Facebook, and Instagram. It's in the description down below. I'll let Mark know y'all said hi. Thank you, and we'll catch up tomorrow. We're going live for our usual Sunday night live. No topic, any topic, open chat. It's usually just come have a good time. We have good mods. It's usually very chill. So thank you all for being here, and I will catch up with y'all tomorrow. Bye.